I think the first point I would make is that there couldn't be a better time, at least in Washington, to discuss this book. Because the issues that the book covers are really the very debates of India's 16th general election, which is still unfolding, as many of you know. And if you look at what our political parties are doing in India, they are actually asking the voter to reimagine India, reimagine locally, regionally, nationally. And so, whether it is the distribution of power or whether it's the nature of growth, whether it's about vision or implementation, uh, are we talking material issues or intangible values? This book actually captures the internal Indian conversation. And now the vote, as you're all aware, is still underway, and the results are more than a fortnight away. We've seen a high turnout in the election so far, so this could be an indication that these debates actually do resonate with the voters. Now, the overarching theme of the volume is of India's passage to modernity, and it's captured by the subtitle Unlocking the Potential of India's Next Superpower. And that's really articulated in all its facets by the various authors. Now, it's tempting to find a sweeping explanation for the progress on that journey. But I do take into account Yasheng Huang's very valid caution in this book that the relationship between political systems and economic outcomes is ambiguous and indeterminate. But as Shobh told you, having lived in the USSR, the US, China, Japan, Singapore, and of course India, it's very difficult to resist the temptation of saying something about what helps or doesn't help nations to go forward. And my take on that is actually the subjective element, what I'd call the human factor. China, where I was till recently, is to my mind in many ways example of leadership quality. And not surprisingly, it has today the most serious leadership training program in the world. In contrast, the USSR collapsed primarily due to loss of faith. Japan's stagnation, I believe, and it's interesting because this series began with a book, Reimagining Japan. Japan's stagnation, I think, was a mix of risk aversion and lack of imagination. While Singapore, on the other hand, is really an extraordinary story of vision and willpower. US, of course, we all know, is about openness and optimism, or occasionally lack of it. But when it comes to India, we are told that our strengths are in our diversity and in our improvisation skills. Now, I'm not disputing the merits of the first, but the downside of a Plan B culture is that its commitment to Plan A is rarely as dedicated as it should be. The magnitude of challenges brought out by this volume leaves little doubt for the need of a serious and sustained response to all the challenges in the book.